right club. Be the right club today.
Johnny, that's better than most.
How about in?
That is better than most. Better than most.
Expect anything different?
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the No Laying Up Podcast Happy Hour Edition. KPMG Women's PGA / Travelers Championship presented by our friends at FanDuel. Solly here, joined by my guy, Mr. TC. Hello, TC. How are you?
Greetings, Solly. Happy Wednesday.
Happy Wednesday. God, it's been a tough go for your boy the last couple of days. As soon as the U.S. Open hit, a virus of some kind hit. It's not been great here, but we're rebounding, we're battling, and we're ready to watch a lot. I'll be doing nothing but watching golf next couple days. Big Randy is here, Major Championship Week. Hello, Mr. Big.
Hello, guys. Got a fresh haircut today. I'm feeling good. Happy hump day to all of you as well.
Big, I got a fresh haircut too, big guy.
Hey, how about that?
You guys look great. Cody is here. We're going to hear from where he is here shortly, but hello, Mr. Codeman.
Hello. Happy to be here. Excited. We're still in major season.
We got a lot of majors still to go. Tonight's happy hour presented by FanDuel, our go-to spot for betting all the summer golf action. Deep into the golf season, guys are grinding for FedEx Cup points, chasing form ahead of the last major, and FanDuel's got everything you need to follow the chaos, including first, second, and third round leader markets, plus more. The app is clean. Bets are fun. Download FanDuel and make your next bet an ace. Must be 21 or older and present in select states. Gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit rg-help.com. We'll also get into some of our plays a little later on for this week's. A lot of action spread out in a lot of places. But Cody, where are we finding you today?
Yeah, I'm out here doing it. Omni Fields Ranch. As you mentioned, I'm live right now from Omni PGA Frisco Resort and Spa. It's amazing. The golf course, the entire complex, everything you need for a buddies trip, guys. You know, we've been here before. We had the NIT here a couple of years ago. So they already had a major championship. You got, Steve Stricker plus the 3-putt king. All major championships. We're going to name another one this week. They got everything that you could ask for. The swing, it's a 10-hole short course built for fun. It's fully lit up at night. The dance floor, it's open till like 10 o'clock. It's 2 acres long, right outside these cool little ranch houses that I'm at right now. You got 2 golf courses, a course, the East course designed by Gil Hance, the other one, the West, by Bo Welling. 13 food and beverage options, enough off-course and action to keep the group rolling long after the final putt drops. If you're not into the group trips, it's an awesome spot for a family. I'm bringing the girls up here the rest of the weekend, and I'm really excited about it. So check it out. Find locations, omnihotels.com/golf, and prepare to play the possibilities. Thank you to Omni.
Yes, they do awesome work. We appreciate the support. There was a KPMG Women's PGA preview that went out on our feed on Monday. I hope people got a chance to listen to that, talking some storylines. They also spent some time with Gil Hance, talking about Omni Fields Ranch, the East course, our first look at that golf course, diving into kind of the philosophy behind that. But a golf course we're going to see a ton of. I'm really excited to get a first look at it. I'm very open-minded coming into this. I have no idea what to expect. I think it's a golf course that is an interpretation of what is needed to test modern golfers at the major championship level. I'm excited to see how the scoring is. I'm excited to see what the reaction is. I'm excited to see how this place grows in and all those things. And again, a place that a lot of people can visit. But Randy, I'm going to throw it over to you. Kind of some lead stories as we get kicked off into the new week, where we can watch this week. What's going on at the championship?
Yeah, thank you, Solly. Let's start with how you can watch. Obviously, the tournament starting Thursday. It's going to be Golf Channel Thursday, Friday, Eastern times, 11 a.m. to 3 p.m., and then back again 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. But I want to give credit. You know, Cody, TC, we've all talked about the need for this event to elevate in stature. It should much more resemble the United States Women Open, for instance, than it should the Chevron or the Evian. And I just want to point out that they announced an increase in purse for the players. It's up to $12 million, which is equal to the U.S. Women's Open, which is the highest on tour. For context, the purse here 4 years ago was $4.5 million. So they're pouring money into the purse, which is obviously great for the players. For the fans, though, this is where, you know, we really care about They're going to be having what they call KPMG Champcast this week, which is pretty much the exact same thing as the shot link data, which I think really elevates events like this. Besides increased TV time, I want to shout out they're doing feature group coverage. This is going to be available on Peacock, the KPMG tournament website, and I'm sure that the tournament app as well. Grant Boone, friend of the program, and Judy Rankin are going to be calling the feature groups. We know I think these are going to be Thursday and Friday, but we at least know for sure Thursday's feature group, the morning feature group, is going to be Nelly Korda, Gino Titicum, Lydia Ko, which is fantastic. And then Thursday PM, of course, the not retired Lexi Thompson, Yuka Sasso, and Yalimi No. The thing to note about that pairing, I guess they're all former junior PGA champions, so a bit of a cheeky pairing there. But in all sincerity, I think the more resources KPMG, the PGA of America, can put in this tournament, this should be on par with the U.S. Women's Open. This should be on par with the AIG Women's Open. And it's good to see from both a fan perspective and the player perspective with the purse. I just need to give credit where it's due, because I've taken shots at this tournament before. So I want to praise when they're doing well.
Randy, I've taken plenty of shots at PGA of America. Like, this should be a big time source of collaboration for the new LPGA commissioner who came from the PGA of America, of like, hey, this should be neck and neck with the US Women's Open. They got good venues, Hazeltine next year, but Congressional after that, back to Frisco in 31. But, you know, kind of a good rota coming through on this. And it should be like, it should feel elevated. And it seems like they're, you know, I read through the presser transcripts from yesterday. Got to give credit to my guy D Sprague. Out there doing it with PGA of America, and Liz Moore with the LPGA, kind of, you know, holding it down here in the meantime, but step in the right direction.
Well, I think your point to that, Randy, is like the credit I think does go to KPMG. Like, I think unfortunately this event still lacks a little bit on the television coverage front, and KPMG is the one putting up the dollars to air it, right? I mean, NBC invests their resources into U.S. Women's Open, but they don't bend over backwards for this event. Like, and the PGA of America has not treated this event like a major for quite some time. Really, it was until KPMG got involved and started taking this event to much better courses. We went, Randy, in 2018 when I was at Kemper
the one
Lakes.
I always remember. Yeah, suburban Chicago, just like this course.
Whoa,
yeah,
whoa! It was like a corporate office park. Like, it was something else. And then all of a sudden they're going to very real golf courses, and they've done a magnificent. I had to look that up. You said a double the purse since, or the purse was $4.5 million just 4 years ago at Atlanta Athletic Club. We were there for that one too. That was crazy the increase in that. So they're doing an amazing job with it. But I think I know, at least I remember Baltusrol. I don't specifically remember for last year, but Baltusrol, we left very frustrated with how this thing was covered at the very end for Ronnie Yin's win. And I hope we don't end that way on Sunday, but I'm suspicious, if you'll allow me to be. We've done work with KPMG in the past, as our friends at NBC would have always wanted us to note.
Of course. No, we'll keep guarded. I'm sure it won't be a perfect event from our fan standpoint, but they are making steps. So I think that's important to highlight those and shout them out. As far as storylines, I would encourage people to go back and listen to the preview pod. TC, myself, Cody, we kind of set out some of our favorites. I'll just maybe some ones that we quickly touched on, or more like high-level storylines this week. I've got a few that I'm happy to run through. Let's start here. This year on the LPGA Tour has been unlike last year, where we saw Nelly dominate early in the season. You had Hannah Green, I believe, ended up winning 3 times last year. The point being, there were a lot of multi-winners last year. This year, there have been 15 different winners. There has not been a repeat winner out on tour yet. Incredibly, none of these 15 winners are Nelly Korda. One of the big things that we talked about is what kind of putter she's going to bring to Fields Ranch East this week. One thing I will note, her Tuesday press conference, she said she had a full-blown neck spasm hitting a shot out of the rough. Claims she's fine, is going to be fine, but just something to keep an eye on there with Nelly Korda. So, yeah, 15 different winners. We'll see if that trend continues this week.
Cody, question for you. That's not a there's mega thick rough out on this golf course that's injuring players kind of thing, is it? Or is that just kind of more fluky, or is the rough that bad out there? Bermuda doesn't seem to want to do that.
No, it's just, it's summer Bermuda in Texas. So it's not, you got to push all the Oakmont images and everything of thick rough, and it just sits immediately down to the bottom. And I think that, they're coming from playing in Michigan and then in the Northeast, before that. And then even at the US Women's Open, they're just not used to having to dig stuff out of the rough. Out in the fescue here, it's very, it's very playable. It's sparse where it is. So I don't know where exactly she would get hurt. She looked fine today. There is a putter update. I actually saw her with back to her normal answer style putter, and there was a mallet sitting there. So who knows which direction we're going to go, but she looked fine. Her neck was fine. Exactly.
Oh God, I want to see her go to the long putter someday. This event,
Randy, like to your point on just the amount of different people who have won this. I was reading Meg Adkins in the Friday Egg newsletter this morning about, I think the last 11 or 12 women's majors, there's only one repeat winner, and that's Lilia Vu. And it's kind of, it's both a blessing and a curse, right? We talked about it a little bit on our preview show, but even looking at somebody winning, like I'm looking at Yuka Sasso, she's had more missed cuts this year than she's the defending U.S. Women's Open champ, and had more missed cuts this year than she's had made cuts. So it's even just a lack of consistency, even when they're not winning from the top players. Like Lilia Vu, I'm super worried about her right now. It's crazy.
I know.
It's been an interesting year, TC. I think of all, at least me getting super into the LPGA Tour, there's just a lot of people that are battling a lot of injuries. And you see that from, the top 10 all the way through like top 50 in the world. And it seems like we haven't really had a solid run where anybody, top 10 players in the world are just like, we're all here firing on all cylinders. It's just been a weird, I hate that because the LPGA Tour has like 4 starts to the season, but like we're in this weird, early summer start for them.
Yeah. Well, we're going to have to buck some history at the KPMG because, we're talking about 15 different winners on tour this year. The KPMG itself, 7 of the last 9 winners of this event have been first-time major winners. A question, will that trend continue this week? I think if just by looking at the Rolex rankings, the top players currently without a major, that you would think, hey, if you're going to win a first major this week, obviously that starts with Gino Titicum, number 2 in the world. I think needs to show us something. Very disappointing week at Erin Hills a couple weeks back. Usually has like the highest floor, I think, even counting Nelly on tour week to week. Just hasn't. She's had top 10s at majors, but really looking forward to being contention come the weekend would be a big step for her. Number 5,
I think we're bouncing off the bottom.
I hope so.
I think she bounces back in this one.
Yeah.
I think she's too good. I was hard on her major record ahead of the U.S. Women's Open. You were advancing too quickly on this one, Randy.
No,
I needed you to apply some of your logic that you normally do to her, and I think I think it's flipped though. That was such a poor performance that it's like, all right, it's time to play some serious golf. I bet she's at least in the top 5 this week.
I think some sneaky lot amount of LPGA women make their home around Dallas, Frisco area too. So certainly a home game. Gino's one of them. Ronning Yin is another that lives in the Dallas area.
D. Sprague was talking about that in his presser. Dude,
I just want to say, Frisco is very much not Dallas. Okay,
I can see
it's the Plex, though, right? It's the Plex.
Anybody, there's
Plex adjacent.
There's probably 40, 50 women that play full time on the LPGA Tour that do live in Dallas. They all either live down in the Colony or Grapevine. None of them are like, it's not a home game. None of them are staying at their houses. They don't come up here and play. Frisco is a hike up here.
They should come up and play. They should establish home field advantage.
They should.
Even if it's, and then I think another thing too,
of course.
would it be a good idea for the LPGA to do a few signature events, limited field, no cut, get 40 to 50 players in and just say, like increase the chances that you're going to have a big name win an event?
Maybe. I mean, they have the Asian swing, which is basically that.
Yeah. I guess they try to with the Asian swings. I mean, truthfully, it's what like the Chevron and Evian should be, or should just be like elevated kind of event, signature series. Yeah. I guess just to finish a thought on first time potential winners, ranking high, you have number 5 in the world, Haydon Rue, number 10, Angel Yin, of course, LC.
Sounds
right
like
there,
my pronunciation has won the day, despite being harassed on this one.
Which that's outrageous. Because first of all, somebody's in our comments or our DMs about Randy's
with Gino, right?
Titicun, not Titicum.
I have no idea.
With an M,
sure.
and then B solid the LPGA website itself, and some of the Korean ladies out there do not know where you're getting this D from.
Randy just rolled right off Randy's tongue.
I thought we had decided
there's
that
a
as
letter
group.
for this in
hate on
in
you
English.
Hate on you. What's wrong? That's the audio file that was sent to us. Hate on you.
Say it fast and with confidence.
Yeah.
Charlie Hall's
No,
there,
it sounds
number
more L
17.
than D.
She's looking for her first major.
I'm with you, Big. Keep going.
Yeah. Interestingly, if you're thinking about the first 2 majors this year were won by Mal Saigo and Maya Stark. The last woman to win either the Chevron and the KPMG or the U.S. Women's Open and the KPMG. Well, MB Park won all 3 in 2013. So it's been a while since we've seen somebody pull a double. Maybe we'll get that out of Maya or Mal this week. What else do I have for you? I thought this was interesting. Amy Yang. All right, the last few winners of the KPMG. Amy Yang was ranked 25th ranked 25th in the world coming into last year's KPMG before she won. The year before that, Ronan Yin won. She was ranked 24th in the world going into that week. Inji Chun, the year prior to that, was ranked 33rd in the world before winning the KPMG. So if you like recent history and are fishing around in kind of that 24 to 33 in the world right now, I think there are 5 very interesting names. Aki Iwai is ranked 23 currently. Minji Lee, who I think is a total threat this week, is ranked 24. Heejin Choi is 25. Madeline Sagstrom is 29. And then Megan Kang is ranked 32nd. So I just wanted to, hey, if you like recent history like that, those are the women that would keep that trend going. So I would throw it to Cody, Tron, Solly even, and any other things that you guys have been thinking about. It's okay if not, but since we did our storylines on the preview pod, anything else to shout out?
I'm amped.
Yeah,
Solly, go ahead.
I'm curious. I'm very curious to see what fan reaction is to this golf course, because I think it's a good golf course. I think it's interesting. It is not like, I think this is the future of major championship golf. I think I'm intrigued, but the big takeaway we had from being there is aesthetically, it might not be the most pleasing. And it's one of the few golf courses I've ever played where I've been like, we could use some houses around here to kind of fill in the sight lines.
Don't worry, they're coming.
I feel similar to Trinity Forest, honestly. Like, I think that's a good golf course, but I just the aesthetics all around it take away in a way from the fan experience. Like, it just doesn't look like that much of an aspirational place. And I'm curious if that's going to be the takeaway. Something I've definitely learned in this job is, like, some of these things I can really nerd out about and get interested in, 80% of the golf population doesn't care about at all. And I think there might be some headwinds on that front with this golf course, at least for now. And then maybe by 2027, it's a little more grown in and looks a little bit more aesthetically pleasing. And in May, it might be a more pleasant environment and climate to play a major championship in than this one will be. But that is a question mark heading into this one, and one that I look forward to weighing in on Sunday to seeing if what wins today.
Solly, I totally agree with you. I think even talking to some caddies, some players that are, it doesn't sound like everybody's thrilled with the golf course, which actually makes me more excited because I think that there's stuff that, like, I think that stretch from 10 through, I mean, the back nine's sick. There's like 10 through 12 is such a cool progression of par fours, and then you get that long par three. And I think it's on the PGA of America, Kerry Haig specifically, to set this up correctly. I'm very interested to see how he sets it up. There's a lot of versatility out there. There's a lot that could go wrong if you set it up too short or too long. But I hope they set it up to really challenge the ladies, because I think that would be very interesting. I would like to see this course differentiate, and spread the leaderboard out. Like, I want to see good, great shots get rewarded, good shots and great shots get differentiated from one another too. Because like that was tricky at Congressional a few years ago. A similar thing, big golf course, a lot of variety, a lot of versatility, and I think they set it up too long the first day, and weather didn't cooperate that week, but set up too long and then totally overreacted and neutered the whole place. So the other thing too is just I think we're going to see a lot of sun umbrellas out there. Cody, like, what's the build out look like, or what's the, like, where are fans going to kind of congregate out there? Because there's not a lot of shade. It's supposed to be 92 on Thursday, 93 on Friday, 94 on Saturday, and 93 on Sunday. No clouds, just straight sun. I'm sure it's humid too.
No, it is a beautiful summer. Hardly any humidity out here. 94 degrees right now. I just looked down at my phone. It's been blowing about sustained 20 so far, gusts up to 25.
Okay.
Love that.
Same thing,
like,
that
sign me up for this week. Is that supposed to continue?
Yep, and it's going to be the same way all week. Not looking for any precipitation coming through. Guys, I'm so excited to see how this Gil Hanse course holds up. We talked a lot about it in the preview, but he moved, it's a 36-hole complex. So they took a lot of the dirt that they moved for the West course over here to reinforce specifically these holes on the back nine, 10, 11, 12, to build them up. Panther Creek is what runs through this property. And then at a minimum, this whole property is sand capped with 6 inches of sand. At most, it's up to 2 feet of sand. So there's no issues draining. But what that does is it creates extremely firm and hopefully fast playing conditions. The greens are absolutely pure. And I bring the sand and the sand capping up because that sand is the exact same sand that's in the bunkers that they have here. And they're very inconsistent. And because the bunkers are stacked up kind of weird shaped, low points and high points next to these greens and really in the fairways where the wind comes in, there's kind of a little drafting effect. It pools at the entrance and then washes everything out at the bottom and kind of blasts it out. So there's nowhere in these bunkers that there's not really consistent sand. They sifted it out to get all the heavy stuff out, but there's never a consistent bottom to it. And it's thrown all the women into a complete, fit so far. They don't know how to play out of the bunkers, and which I think is awesome. There's supposed to be hazards.
Yeah.
We talk about who this golf course kind of sets up for. It's not about, like, people who are not ball strikers are going to be completely exposed because of the wind. It's just going to blow them completely off the face of this golf course. But really, it's about knowing your carry numbers, and, like, you're going to see a lot of balls landing short and releasing onto them. And I think the green complexes that you have here, there's a lot of them that are, the high point is front to back, not back to front, which I absolutely love. And it sets up to be able to play that. And I think the way that the women play their swing speeds and coming in with a lot of hybrids and everything, you're going to see some incredible shot making. And that's really kind of what's gotten me going here. But it's hot, TC. It's going to be super windy. We're just going to see who kind of can hold up.
I've never heard hybrids before. That just hybrids.
They better not dump water on this place.
I hope not.
I will fly there and personally deal with things if they do, because I'm going to be really disappointed if they dump too much water on this place.
Well, I think there's a big difference here again. And I think it goes back to the sand. Is there's a difference between like putting water down on grass to maintain like turf health.
Health is fine, but
very much. I was out here super early. I haven't seen a single ounce of water on this golf course.
Good.
If they designed this golf course for this purpose, to play in this wind, to be firm, to be fast, to be this and then come and dump water, like I trust them.
I don't know if I trust Gary Haig at this point.
Yeah.
His reputation has gone off a cliff the last 2 or 3 years as far as setups go, in my opinion.
Cody, so
I didn't love it
you
before.
have
People are catching up. I've never been a Kerry Haig stan, by the way.
I was just going to ask, Cody, you think they'll be able to kind of run some shots up like into the front parts of these greens? Because I was just curious with being Bermuda grass, if it's that weird, like if you land it short, it's kind of going to stick because of the grass, or if players will kind of get that hop and release onto some of these greens.
Yeah, as long as you're coming in with like an 8-iron or less, you're going to be fine. You know, if you're trying to come in with something lofty and you're landing it, the cool thing here is that where there are the turtlebacks and kind of rounded off sides of the greens is that the grain is directly into you. So if you're trying to land a wedge into that and expecting it to bounce up and release, that's not going to happen. But it's one of the few golf courses, and I'll say specifically on the LPGA Tour schedule, that makes them think through that stuff. And it's a lot different even than Erin Hills was a couple weeks ago, because it's very consistent grass throughout and bleeding in. This is pure Bermuda from tee box all the way through fairway into greens. It's not, there's no mini verde or champion or any blends. It's straight Bermuda. And I think it's going to be very, very interesting to see who can actually buckle down. I mentioned in the preview names that jumped out, but more and more I'm like, it feels like we're more in like playing a course in like Melbourne right now than we are.
It's an Australian PGA. Like I like Madeline, I like Minjee, I like Lauren.
Minjee, I know.
You know, it's
It was funny.
Golfers.
Just reading some of the press conferences, I both Maya Stark, she was asked, how does this compare to Erin Hills? She thinks there probably will be a few more birdies this week than Erin Hills. Certainly the win more of a factor. Gino Titicum, who I thought made a kind of an interesting point, saying if you keep your ball in the fairway, you should have a good chance to. She was like, making par is not that hard, but making birdie should be a bit tricky. So yeah, I'm really curious the test and what we're gonna see come tomorrow.
And then I think too, like whoever plays the par threes well, I think is going to have a really distinct advantage.
They could do so much fun stuff setup wise with the par threes, and I really hope they do it. I don't mean to downplay the golf course with what I was saying earlier. I just don't know if a lot of that, it's going to take a good setup and good coverage of the tournament, of the golf course, for those things to come through on television and not have the aesthetics kind of overwash that. So
because it's kind of monochromatic.
I was going to say, exactly. It could feel like it blends. All the holes kind of just blend together.
I don't know. There's good contrast. I'll say this in the rough and waste areas and things like that, and the massive bridges. You guys know,
sure.
You guys all love infrastructure. The walking bridges they got here are sweet, and there's not a lot of those crazy big houses that have built. They're not up yet on the hill. They're coming.
The cemetery.
Yeah, exactly. Cemetery.
All right, we got
the tax breaks.
A lot to get to here. We're going to do things a little different on today's happy hour. We're going to get to our picks here shortly. And then we're going to talk about the big news on the PGA Tour front, which is the new CEO of the PGA Tour. Then on the very end of the show as well, we have an interview with Ben Griffin checking in from the Travelers, reacting from Oakmont and kind of the hot streak he's been on. Before we get to all that, we'll give a shout out to our friends at Rowback. You guys already know, but you see a lot of different Rowbacks on the screen right now if you're watching this. We got a lot of polos you're seeing there. Randy's got the Hezzy hoodie on, a favorite of many. I just got this Tailwind Performance Q-Zip. This thing is fantastic. It's so light. I'm looking for more long sleeve stuff to wear in the summer.
Yeah, I need to get one of those.
This is really, really good. It's like stretchy kind of material. I never am good at describing it, but this was an immediate ad. I like this color too. This kind of heathery green color. They got the USA collection, of course, for the summer collection. There's going to be a lot of American flags flying around this summer. Get some Rowback stuff on there. July 4th, Labor Day, all that stuff. You got the American flag on the back yoke as Cody is showing off right now. The Delta Looper shorts, great for any occasion, especially for the summer on the golf course, off the golf course. Load up now, rhoback.com, code NLU, generous 20% off your first order through the end of this week. That's RHOBACK.com, 20% off polos, shorts, and more with code NLU. All right, let's get some of our picks for this week. If you are new to the happy hour, we do a little team parlay for every week. Then we do our one and done picks. This week, with a signature event and a women's major, we're going to be making picks on both sides of the aisle for that one, and then give us kind of everyone give two of their favorite bets that they've made as well, which have a no laying up specials tab on the FanDuel Sportsbook as well. So TC, you want to tell us what's our team parlay?
Team parlay this week is Ronnie Yin top 10, Mal Saigo top 10, and a Max Homa top 20.
Come on, Max. You should be well rested. Let's go, buddy.
Yeah. And low key, I always love watching the Travelers. I think it's an interesting tournament. Definitely a birdie fest, one of the shorter tests on tour, but I think it's a pretty true, reflection of who's playing well. And it seems like Max has been finding some little nuggets along the way here. And I think he's ready to start. He's got Lance Bennett on the bag this week. Randy, I can get down with that. I like that.
Plus 3,000. And look, it's hard to get super up for Travelers on Wednesday, the week before, after a major. But I always say this, I say this for Heritage too. Like when Sunday comes around, we're going to be excited to watch that final round.
Yeah.
There's going to be some fun storylines still to follow in that one. For one and done picks for the guys that are not here, DJ is going with Russell Henley this week and Nelly Korda. Neil is going with Ludwig at plus 2,500 and Gino Titakun at plus 900. KVV is going Cam Young plus 5,000 and Yulimi No as well. TC, who you got in one and done this week?
I have I like the Yulimi No pick too. That's proper. She's in a pretty premium pairing this week too. I've got Keegan Bradley. He was my pick in our draft, at the beginning of the year, our winners draft. So I'm gonna stick with that. I got him at plus 3,300 last I checked. I got Minjee Lee at plus 2,200.
I really like that. Yeah, she's been talking about unfinished business. She's loved the way she set herself up for the weekends, the first two majors this year, TC, and just has not played near up to her standard on the weekend. So I think she's coming in here determined.
Randy, what are your picks?
I'm taking Ben Griffin. Listen, having a bit of a moment right now. Let's go with him. He's plus 5,000 to win the Travelers. And then at the KPMG, give me Ronnie Yin, obviously former champ. And her last three majors, she's been beaten by 5 total women. She's a couple of T2s and a T4 in there. So she's been showing up at these big events. How about you, Solly?
I am going with Sepp Straka as my one and done. I hope I didn't already pick him. I didn't double check that. I might have already picked him.
I'll check right now.
I'm such a big Sepp Straka
You did not.
fan.
You did not
Okay.
have. Yeah.
And then I'm going with Hate on You is going to win this week. I think it's time for her to make the leap, and I think that this is the week that it happens. So
I'm seeing
great ball striker.
Randy's nibbling around on Ludwig top Nordic plus 105. That. I've got a
this next section is everyone gets to pick their 2 favorite bets, and that is 2 favorite bets get listed here, TC and Randy. I've directed at both of you here, but yeah, what are your two other favorite plays people can find on our specials tab?
I got Ludwig bogey free round 1. I love that play. I think that's plus 650 right now. I don't think there's a ton of bogeys out there. What else? I don't know if they put it up, but I'll shout it out. I got Celine Boutier winning Group B, Yulimi No winning Group D, Rio Takeda winning Group C plus 8,207. A little parlay there. So it's distinct. It's not an accumulator. It's distinct pools and everything. And then, I've got Tommy winner without
that's
Scotty.
That's two. Randy, what are your 2 plays?
Thorin
What are your 2 plays?
Coughlin,
What are your
10
plays?
plus
Mute him.
550,
Mute him,
which
Cody.
was
What are your 2 plays?
disrespectful.
Well, I do have a couple. I'm not going to shout them out. Sorry, please don't hold these. But if on our FanDuel, if you look under no laying up specials, I have a couple fun ones. One with Nelly and Ronning Yin, and then another with Ronning Yin and Patrick Cantlay. But my 2 favorite, like specifically for the KPMG. No. I just want to shout out what's already up there. Yeah. I like 2. I like Angel Yin plus 2,800 as a winner without Haydon Rue, Gino, Nelly, and Ronning. I think Angel, listen, she was top 10 at the US Open. She loves hard golf courses. I feel like she's a premium ball striker, can hit it through the wind. So I like that play. And then my other one, we've talked about Madeline Sackstrom. Listen, if you're like me and you like weird stuff, I'm rooting for Madeline this week because it'll give us 3 straight major champions with the initials MS on the LPGA Tour. I'm not going to take her to win, but she's plus 900 to top 10. So I think that represents some good value. If she's on, I think she's going to have a great week. It's always a question of if she's on or not.
I'm going to keep mine short and sweet. Cody's got Cam Young, first round leader, plus 3,500 over on the Travelers. Guy shot 59 there. I don't know if you guys remember that, but and then Sepp and Vic Hovland to both top 20 is plus 300. I think that's like one of my favorite bets of the year. I think so.
Okay.
On the big news front, so this was again, I've been sick this week and just like rolling out of bed, and I knew this was coming, but.
Can we shout out a couple more here? Just
no, TC, we got to get to some news.
2 of Morikawa, Ludwig, and Cantlay to finish top 5 in ties is plus 650. And then they threw up a LC plus Carlota.
Cut him off.
Top 10 parlay, which I really like.
Carlota's hot.
She is, yeah.
Playing hot. Excuse me. Don't take that the wrong. Playing very, very hot.
Anyways, in maybe bigger news, the PGA Tour welcomes a new CEO. This is, again, a new role, allegedly, kind of still a bit unclear as to how the commissioner role is going to evolve. Jay Monahan allegedly staying on through 2026. Off the jump here, TC, what do people need to know about this news? What about Brian and about how this is going to unfold?
Yeah, my big takeaway is, first of all, shout out to both James Colgan at golf.com and Joel Beal at Golf Digest. Both of them had exceptional write-ups on, I think Joel's was a little bit more focused on, kind of player reaction and internal reaction. And I think James's was much more like, who is Brian Rolap? So we'll get there. I think it sounds like Jay intends to stay on through the duration of his contract, which runs through 2026. It feels a little bit like, hey, you guys are going to have to buy me out, because just hanging around for 12 to 18 months, just focusing on your duties as a board member feels a little bit light. And I did notice Rolap, he was announced as CEO of PGA Tour and PGA Tour Enterprises, not just PGA Tour Enterprises. So I think that's a crucial distinction versus what was laid out, say 3, 6, 9 months ago. The more I've read about this guy, the more like it's the right hire. Like they chose the right guy. I think everything, like I think Thursday Night Football was his kind of brainchild, was his baby. That's been killer. He's been the one to negotiate all the media deals with, whether it's NBC, CBS, Fox, getting in with Netflix, the Amazon Prime stuff, all that stuff. I think that's all kind of his handiwork. It sounds like he is a serious adult, serious human being. He's got, he's got 4 kids. I think one of his sons he walked on at Michigan. He was on the national championship winning team. He's a quarterback. I think he's got another son who's coming up through the ranks right now. Really good quarterback. So, comes from kind of a sports family. Sally, he went to Harvard Business School with Scott O'Neill from Liv, which is interesting. I think they both went to BYU as well. But just everybody you talk to around the NFL or who's interacted with this guy, it seems like he's not a self-promoter. He's not a bullshitter, but at the same time, it seems like James Colgan had a great link to a Fortune magazine interview from like 2015 with Roll-Up, so much earlier in his career, and just talking about how, like, I know he's an outsider to golf. So one of your questions earlier was like, hey, how is an outsider? Is he going to buck tradition too much, or is he going to be too focused on over commercializing this thing? And he had some quotes in there just about how none of this shit matters unless, I'm paraphrasing here, none of this shit matters unless the product is good, unless the game means something, unless, like there was an anecdote about a picture he's got in his office where, it's a couple of Massachusetts prep schools playing a football game, and like the science building is on fire in the background and everybody is locked in on the football game. And he's like, hey, like that just shows that like it was a good game. The game meant something. Like, the competition has to mean something. It has to be quality competition, and you got to present it the right way. And he's like, hey, like if you're doing those things, then the other stuff matters and you can ladder up. And I think, he sounds like he's a pretty creative thinker. It sounds like he's highly, highly attuned with, streaming platforms and interfaces. And like, he's just, I don't know, from everything I've read, it sounds like he's like a pretty thoughtful, forward-thinking leader, and
potentially going to be the commissioner, the next commissioner of the NFL. Like that was part of he was lured away. He was the number 2 guy for many, many years there, potentially Roger Goodell's successor.
Yeah. I mean, he's like obviously the NFL, TV deals are all his handiwork, and those make the PGA Tour stuff pale in comparison. And I think that was where Jay had those 3 years, that kind of 3 or 4 year grace period where he was the deputy commissioner, and then everybody was like, just wait till 2020 or wait till 2021 when we get this new TV deal in place. And it was kind of like, all right, Jay, like those first 3 years or 4 years, it was kind of like everything was leading up to that, and then nothing really changed, right? And I think that was one of our big frustrations of the Monahan regime. And I think, obviously next one I think is 2030. So we've got a few years, but starting to lay the groundwork for that now. And I think that's where, like, hey, well, hopefully we can see, the tours showed that, hey, we can change. We can rip the Band-Aid off. They just announced a new format for the Tour Championship in season. But between signature events and all of that, I think the other thing is like the NFL has like had a pretty global focus over the last few years. They've played tournaments, or they've played games in Brazil. They're doing a game in Australia. They've got Germany, Spain, like they're reaching into Europe in a big way. And so I think, hopefully that portends like him having much more of a global focus than what the previous administration did, as it relates to just the schedule. It's just been the same taped together schedule for the last however long. So,
well, and that's where I'm intrigued, and I would guess the most optimistic viewpoint for the long handover from Monahan to him is where the bodies are buried, how stuff works, why you can't do this, why you can't do this, which can be a positive or a negative thing. I think I'm curious to see how much the schedule can change. I mean, there's some tournaments that are lined up to do this through many, many years, and they want this week in the calendar, and you can't move this because of this. And
you need the institutional knowledge. I hear that. Yeah.
But this is it's a drastic, it's a big change. And I guess I'm pulling back. Is it a big change with the goal of really changing the way this is done and changing the way the championship structure of this works? You just referenced the Tour Championship. It's like gone completely backwards, and we end up with one of the worst final championships in sports. I'm going to guess that this guy is going to say like, hey, the Super Bowl is pretty big product, pretty big one. Maybe trust me to lead us towards, kind of figuring out a better way to crown a champion is something I'm really intrigued on. I think again, I'm working off this much information just from reading a couple articles, all that. Worst case scenario is reading like, oh, they got a big media rights deal coming up. Hope this guy can get a bunch of money for the players because he's got a lot of experience doing that. That's the most pessimistic view of it. But everything I'm reading about his philosophy on entertainment product is what I want to hear for making the product good and viewable. Because I don't really care if things get better for the players and if he's a great CEO for the players. We've done enough of the player-related stuff. It's, are you going to make this product better for sports fans and golf fans? I'm inclined to say yes, based on the information we have currently, and I hope that to be the case. And I hope he's just not too hamstrung by a system in place that is going to be still really, really difficult to change on a lot of fronts.
Yeah, I think it's like he's not afraid to break shit. I don't think, and I don't think that there should be too many sacred cows within the PGA Tour ecosystem. Like I think we've already ripped the Band-Aid off on that front and kept some of the stuff that sucks and broken some of the stuff that was good anyway. So just give the guy a pretty blank slate, and he's already got a good, really good roster of sponsors, and like they've, shout out to Monahan on that front. Like they've kept big sponsors in the boat, and they certainly know how to sell things.
Yeah.
So, but it
relationship
does
wise,
seem
that
like
handoff
his
makes sense. Like that.
It does. Yeah. It just does seem like 18 months is a long time. And,
Sure.
Like you could buy Monahan out and then essentially say, all right, you know what? Like go out to Steamboat and you can work on a consulting basis here. But I don't know. I think generally speaking, it's like, it seems like we've led up to this for so long and it's just been wait. Now it's finally happening. And I kind of woke up this morning and I was like, yo, like we got a new, like we got, like, this is what we've been begging for the last 4 or 5 years. And I'm really, really excited about it. And I think it's truly time for change at the PGA Tour. There's been a lot of shuffling the deck chairs, and I think there's been a lot of change within the organization as far as headcounts and building new teams and shifting people around. But I think overall it's like, all right, this guy should be able to hit the ground running pretty good. And like, he's not afraid to just ask a bunch of questions. Wait, why do we do this? And I think with Monahan, it was because we've always done it that way instead of, hey, there's a better way to do this, So Randy, am I selling you on this guy, or is it
for sure? You guys are saying all this much more eloquently than I am. I just am glad, given what we've seen the last several years. I'm really glad they brought somebody in from the outside who, quite frankly, does not have a ton of golf experience. That's exactly, I think, what I wanted personally. So I'm excited. The proof will be in the pudding, but I at least on paper and the things you're talking about, TC, I think it's an exciting hire and an exciting name.
Solly, one other thing too, I think
executive, right? I think the one thing, TC, as you keep bringing up the 18 months with Monahan, is that Rolf coming in with truly, like, he can't learn anything really from Monahan with how SSG, like what their plans or intents or how they're going to kind of establish themselves. And I saw earlier, it was like, I think that was last week when somebody was like, oh yeah, the PGA Tour hasn't spent a cent of that money yet. I'm like, well, yeah. Okay, well, are they waiting on their executive to be in place and then go, this is what we want you to execute?
I think the good thing is you've got new leaders in place at PGA Tour, LPGA. You've got a brand new structure going in at Live. You got a brand new structure going in at NBC, Versant, Spinco, all that stuff. Like, it seems like the time is ripe to kind of break some stuff. What I do worry about is like I think there's certain shit that he doesn't need to learn from Monahan. Like, go make up your own mind on rollback, or on, like, if you care about the product, well, the product is related to course setups and the venues that you can play and all of that. And you've got this whole roster of TPC courses that can't hold a tournament these days. I think the other thing, Solly, is, there's some quotes from Kevin Clark, who, he's been on the Trap Draw before, big fan of Kevin. Like, this guy ran NFL Network. Like, he was kind of he ran NFL Films, NFL Network. Like, he's very, very, like, and that's kind of best in class, best in the business as far as like NFL Films goes. He's pretty fluent and competent at content, right? And I think that's something that, you think back to NFL Network, like when they had to cover the Ray Rice stuff, they didn't shy away from it. They covered it warts and all, and asked tough questions. And I think that shows that, there can be two sides of the house, and he's capable of looking after both sides of the house. And I know that's not a player run organization, but I do think, if you're a player and somebody comes in from the NFL, which is a real ass sports league, you can say, hey, you know what, here's how we did things at the NFL and why. And like, cool, you guys have been doing it your way for this long. How'd that work out for you? Shut the fuck up. You know,
It's honestly just kind of dawning on me how much like the tour's stance on things can change. Like tour stance on live and suspensions and all that might change drastically. You know, the tour's stance on signature events, which were a Monahan creation, like that might change drastically. Like stance on rollback, as you mentioned, might change drastically. It does get me excited, nervous, and a lot of things, I guess. But we'll see how it all plays. We'll be covering this in great detail, I'm sure, over the years to come, and look forward to learning a lot more about this and what plans are, and seeing how this. It's going to take time. I know it's not going to be a snap of the fingers and expect everything to change as of next year. But
we can get into it more on the Sunday pod too. I think there's plenty more to unpack there, because I think there's a lot more to unpack there on who they didn't choose, and there's some really good hints and stuff in Joel's piece about who was a real candidate, who wasn't, and some of the stuff around Monahan of just it sounds like more and more this is a complete repudiation of Monahan, and Monahan is just trying to hang around to get like he wants to see the framework agreement through, but no, he just wants to hang around through January 1st, 2026, so that like he gets paid.
Yeah.
I
don't blame him. I don't blame him.
Just buy him out and rip the Band-Aid off.
Yeah. I honestly don't have an opinion on that. I'm just looking forward to a new tenure and hopefully some open-mindedness on how to do a lot of things. Like honestly, the NFL films thing, I don't know how many times we've referenced like that they should be creating a golf style version of that, and hopefully that's a
sound effects. Hard Knocks.
Seriously.
All that stuff. That was all roll out.
Yeah.
And his kids are telling him, "Hey, Dad, this is awesome. We should do more of this." All right, cool. Let's do more of it. Like, and then the wherewithal to see that through and make it a good product.
Yeah. Other Travelers notes. We'll cover the Travelers, of course, in detail on Sunday. But Adam Schefter is going to be doing on-course reporting tomorrow for the Rory Keegan pairing on feature group stuff. Just found that to be
sure
after improperly reporting on the PGA Tour new commissioner role, CEO role, all of that. But that'll be. If you hear an unfamiliar voice on ESPN Plus tomorrow, that's that one. So.
Shefty.
We will be back. We have a new podcast coming out Thursday night. KVV and I are doing another little deep dive. We'll have a live show on Saturday night, setting up the final round of the KPMG Women's PGA. And of course, we'll be live on Sunday night covering two events, the Travelers, and we got doubled up this year. Two women's majors up against signature events, but those are always really fun shows. So it'll be a 2 TV Sunday. So, and next up, we're going to play this on our way out as well. A little sit down with Ben Griffin. I did this morning, guys. I'm not going to lie. I wasn't feeling great this morning. If I look a little rough in the video version of this interview, we were battling the nausea this morning, but we made it through it. But good to get our first chat we've had with Ben. I know we want to get him on for a full-length interview in the future, but appreciate his insights and things. My man's confident, and he made me feel confident by the end of it as well. So thank you to our friends at FanDuel, Rowback, and Omni. Cody running the ones and twos. Look forward to a great week. And here's our little conversation with Ben Griffin. All right, and when I play a good round of golf, I don't want to go to sleep at night. I don't want, because I know if I wake up the next day, that feel might be gone. Are you afraid to take a week off right now with how well you've been playing?
Terrified. No, I'm just kidding. I took a week off actually after the Memorial before the U.S. Open. So, yeah, it's good to take a little rest. But you definitely, when you're playing really well, you don't want to take too many days off and kind of lose those same feels. So, I feel like right now I'm doing a good job of managing rest, but also getting little bits of practice in to make sure I'm staying in proper form.
If you go back like a year from today, just whatever time you want to go back to and say, and trying to picture where you're at today, if you had gone back to a year and said, what would you have told yourself? Like, if I do this, blah, 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 I could be this player. Is there some perspective you would have on, it's maybe easy to say now, like what you've done really well to get to this level, but if you could have called it when you were, kind of at a different level just about a year ago, would you have been able to predict, I need to do this better and this is where I can get to?
No, I mean, I think I was kind of on a nice progression. It's just kind of the way professional golf works. Like you learn through experience. You can't replicate experience and practice a ton. You just got to kind of get out there. It's hard. Like I'd say it's pretty hard right now for like even PGA Tour, you guys coming out on tour, you've got to get your reps in and kind of get a feel for how PGA Tour golf works. You go from college to professional golf. You got to manage different things. You own your own business now. And so I guess going back a year, I don't think I would give myself really any sort of advice. It would just be more maintaining positivity and understanding that good things are to come. And you just got to keep grinding and getting progressively a little bit better and believing in yourself. And I kind of had that a year ago. It's just recently I've gotten on this hot streak. And, you know, I had some hot streaks even going back to my rookie year on tour, last year on tour, but you know, those second, third, fourth place finishes just weren't wins. Now those top finishes are like wins. So it's just changed a little bit, and I just feel like I'm on a really good path, and I just got to keep going down it.
Well, on top of the 2 wins you've had, you were in contention, very seriously in contention, in a signature event with Scotty Scheffler, the #1 player in the world, player who's been breaking records everywhere. Was anything different about that moment? Did you have to try to convince yourself you had to do something special on that day to beat him? What was it like, kind of looking back in retrospect, of going toe-to-toe with Scotty?
Yeah, I think going back maybe a year or two, I would have said I had to do something really special. But I think now it's like I've got to go out there and just believe in myself and execute. And I felt incredible that final round. Slept great going into the round. I was fully confident that I was going to win that golf tournament. I think you go back a year or two and, you know, there might be not necessarily negative thoughts, but just maybe a little bit more anxiousness going into rounds. Whereas now, you know, obviously I'm playing extremely well. Like physically, I feel like my game's in a good spot. Mentally, I'm in a great spot. And so like, it's easy for me to go into these rounds and feel really good. Whereas in the past, maybe I would have just a little bit of anxiousness, I would say. So now I'm going into these final rounds, even of majors like US Open. Like I was fully committed to trying to shoot 7 under the final round at the US Open and win that golf tournament, even though I started the day at 4 over and I actually only needed 5 under, lo and behold. But it comes down to execution. Sometimes you can tell yourself all these things mentally and you can be in a great spot, but it just doesn't happen from an execution standpoint. You know, I hit it on the front fringe of the first hole at Oakmont, that final round, and I'm thinking, all right, let's just 2-putt this. But the pin's like 2 paces from a slope that takes it off the green. And of course my ball comes off a little slower than I want it to, and it catches that slope. So I degreen my putt on the first hole. And all of a sudden it's like, all right, 7 under might be a little stretch. But yeah, I mean, it's just, I'd say just, I'm way less anxious nowadays in terms of going into rounds. I'm sleeping great going into rounds. I'm feeling confident going into rounds, and it just comes down to execution.
How would you describe the test that was Oakmont, and how does that differ? Does it differ greatly from what you experience week to week? I imagine that to be the case, but how would you describe what makes it different and what makes it special? It's
just nuts that Oakmont, I mean, 1 under 1, obviously, with the 70-footer on the last hole. Incredible moment for JJ Spawn. Like, so amazing watching that happen. So happy for him and his caddy, Mark Aarons. But yeah, that golf course doesn't have a single water hazard on the property, nor does it really have out of bounds. There's like, you could maybe hit it out of bounds on the first hole. I think there might have been a couple guys that did, but it's really not that much in play. And the rest of the golf course is just wide open. There's not even hardly any trees. Yet 1 under par wins that golf tournament. So that just shows how difficult the rough is, how difficult the contours of those greens are, even with soft conditions. You know, it was starting to get firmer after the second round. And then kind of when that rain came in on Friday night, it softened the course a little bit. And then obviously the rain on Sunday made it even softer. So it's just nuts that a golf course is able to do that. Shout out to the superintendent of the golf course, USGA, everyone that was able to kind of put on a really good test. And it was not like some people were like, oh, it's borderline. It was incredible. Like that was a good, fair, hard US Open. Like if you hit it really well and you put it in the right spots, you're going to have chances. And I definitely had plenty. My problem was I 3-putted, if you include off the fringe, which some holes was like, 5 paces off the green, but the fringes were like literally greens that I grew up putting on. So it was fine, but I had 6 or 7 3-putts, I think the last 2 rounds. And, the first 2 rounds, I didn't have a single one. So I was putting it great, lag putting it great. And then the weekend, I think the softness, the greens kind of messed up my speed a touch. And it was hard to really judge some of those putts. Whereas I was in a really good flow kind of the first 2 rounds before the rain came in. So I think that was the most difficult thing for me. It was less of like the golf course playing longer, ball's not running. Like, I think I was 4th in driving distance last week at the US Open. So the length wasn't an issue. It was just tough to judge a lot of those putts, and you'd have 5-footers that you got to play a cup out or 2 cups out. And usually on the PGA Tour, most of the greens that we compete on are not quite as severe. And most of the hole locations, they actually have to put on like, smaller slopes because the greens are so fast, so that they have to make it playable. And the US Open, it's just like they're fast greens, but they're also like, they're not quite as fast as a normal tour event, but there's so much slope that you can get putts that are crazy fast compared to a normal event. So it just takes a lot of touch. It was very difficult. I loved it. I wish I could go back and play another US Open this week and just run it back again and give myself another chance. But I'll have plenty more chances in my lifetime.
It's a one-on-one thing, man. I mean, that golf course is just, it's such, you said it's so fair, right? I didn't hear one single person, which is kind of, some people are rooting for you guys to say it's unfair at a US Open, but it was, I didn't hear one single person say it was unfair. The only thing that was unfair was maybe Sam Burns' shot in 15 where water was splashing. I want to go and listen to the conversation with the rules officials, because after seeing that and understanding the rules of golf, I feel like I understand the rules of golf pretty well. I feel pretty bad for him. However, when you take casual water relief, you actually have to take a drop. You can change surfaces. So you can go from fairway to first cut or rough. You don't have to stay on the same surface. So I think his drop would actually have been probably in the right rough. So I don't even know if he would have taken a drop. But I felt bad for a situation having to hit out of basically water. That could have been fair, but everything else, I learned a little bit about that rule this past week. I still am quite confused about that one. But when did the Ryder Cup enter the picture for you? How heavily into the picture is it currently? Be prepared to get a lot of questions about the Ryder Cup between now and September as well. But is this something now you wake up thinking about? Have you had conversations with captains or any of that kind of? You're firmly in the mix, I would say, as of now. What's that journey been like?
Yeah, I've definitely had a lot of conversations recently and had 0 conversations prior to March. So that's pretty much how quickly things can change in the golf world. If you get playing really well and have success quick, a lot of opportunities come your way, whether it's sponsors, whether it's Ryder Cup. I mean, there's just the list goes on. So great golf takes care of itself. Everyone always kind of says, you're struggling, just play better and it'll take care of itself. Like, trying to get out of the Korn Ferry Tour, trying to get out of the mini tours and grind to the next level. It's just, you keep playing better, you're going to give yourself more and more opportunities. And so, extremely blessed and grateful to be in that conversation. It's pretty nuts. I guess just kind of looking at my story, just kind of where I've come from to now be in that conversation, but I feel like I belong there. I feel really confident playing against the best players in the world now. I have the experience of beating the best players in the world. And that's going to be a tremendous asset to have at Bethpage. Looking at Bethpage itself, it's a golf course that I feel like suits my game pretty well right now. Starting to hit it a little bit longer, one of the longer guys on tour, trending that direction at least. And, my putter tends to be what kind of gets hot and helps my golf game the most. So I know that'll be huge at a Ryder Cup setting. I just got to continue to play really well this summer and, earn my spot. I really don't want to rely on any sort of picks because it's just an interesting landscape in golf right now where the ranking system can be, I don't know, between Live and PGA Tour, it's like you don't know exactly what maybe a captain is thinking. And so for me, I feel like I belong on that team right now. I'm doing everything I can to try to represent the United States, try to send a message to the European guys that, we're playing really well. It was awesome to see JJ Spawn win. It was awesome to see Sam Burns kind of get on a little run, even Cameron Young. It'd be really cool to have a lot of momentum from the United States side going into that. And whether or not I'm a part of that team, I think it just comes down to me playing extremely well and especially playing well when it comes down to the playoffs. Oh
yeah, got me fired up there. It's got Bethpage has got 18 holes, so I think you've got a great course fit with the way you're playing right now. Your record though at TPC River Highlands, not great so far. What needs to change this week, or now again compared to how you the way you're playing right now? Do you throw out past results when you get to this golf course and say I'm a new guy anyways? Who cares about past results?
Yeah, I'd say I'm more like that. Throw out the past results, and I'm a different golfer probably now than I was a year ago, and a different golfer than the year before that. And even if you go back the last couple of years, I played really well. Actually, I guess I'm playing really well right now going into it. But I had some good weeks where I felt like it was kind of hard to back up good weeks maybe a year or two ago. I don't know why that might be, but finishing second at the RBC Canadian Open last year was 2 weeks prior to the Travelers. And then struggled there, and I just come off an off week because I hadn't played the U.S. Open the last 2 years, and so I had an off week. And maybe I wasn't staying as sharp as I needed to be. And now after playing really well, I'm focused in more on my process and staying sharp. So I feel like my golf game is actually in a really good spot. Whereas the last couple of years, I think it was okay. So yeah, going into this week, I mean, I'm not too worried about what I've done. I'm just kind of focused on each individual shot and trying to play well. The course has a couple changes, it seems. The second green is a little different. I think the 12th fairway is shorter, which I think they changed that last year. But yeah, it'll be fine. I can handle most courses, I feel like, nowadays.
What does but even before Travelers was a signature event, it's always had the reputation as being a player friendly or one of the guys' favorite events of the year. Why would that be? In your experience, what makes this event stand out?
They just do an incredible job of taking care of not only players but wives, families. It's honestly, it doesn't even like compare to a lot of events. And even going back to the U.S. Open, the tournament provided a charter for all players playing the U.S. Open to come here. And traveling is one of the most difficult things on tour. It's not like I'm in the NBA, NFL, where I have an owner of a franchise that basically pays for everything and pays for our meals. It's like professional golfers are our own business. Like, we pay for everything out of our pockets pretty much. And the Travelers does an amazing job of kind of alleviating some of that financial pressure. I mean, not that it's really financial pressure. Still a lot of us on tour or this week, because we're all very, very grateful to have made a ton of money in our careers and aren't really super focused on that. I'm very fortunate for that. But yeah, I mean, it's just like the charter, and then you come here, and then they give the wives like a Lululemon, sweater and gift cards to go to different places like a spa or whatever. And then the dining experience is amazing. They have really high quality food for us, breakfast, lunch, and I believe dinner every single day, which most events don't even do dinner. Well, I shouldn't say don't even do dinner, because it's just nice to even have breakfast and lunch, but they provide dinner here. And it's just a big clubhouse that is super family friendly, and they have a lot of events for a little, different things set up for kids. And so it's just all around an incredible event. The whole fan, the amount of fans that kind of come out is tremendous. It's not often we get to play in the Northeast on tour. This is really like the only event outside of when a major kind of goes to the Northeast. So it's really fun because there's a lot of big golf fans up here. And it's just it's a fun weekend. There's no cut. So how can you not be stressed out too much?
All right. Well, we'll let you get to it. Really appreciate your time. We'll have to have you back sometime for a full length interview, because I enjoyed chatting with you and I've greatly enjoyed watching you this season. And we hope to continue to watch you to keep dominating out there. So appreciate the time, Ben.
Absolutely. Thanks, Oli.
FanDuel, the official sports book of No Laying Up, must be 21 plus and present in select states. For Kansas, in affiliation with Kansas Star Casino, or 18 plus and present in D.C. Gambling problems, call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit rghelp.com. Call 1-888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org/chat in Connecticut, or visit mdgamblinghelp.org in Maryland. Hope is here. Visit gamblinghelplinema.org or call 1-800-327-5050 for 24/7 support in Massachusetts, or call 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY in New York.